What's up, everybody? All my unseen shinobi back at again with another video. We're gonna be doing ranking Nen abilities from Hunter x Hunter. We got the lovely SixMysta Jonathan with us today.
Howdy, 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 nerds.
Six being six, like always.
Just
You
saying,
wanna
I
start?
don't usually say howdy. That's because right before we started recording, Unseen just said howdy, howdy, howdy to me, and I just felt like I had to expose him a little bit.
Hey man,
He's a country
we don't talk
bumpkin.
about that.
He's a
I ain't
country
no,
bumpkin.
I ain't no country bumpkin.
He's a
All right,
country bumpkin.
let's move on with our first person with the speed of Godspeed,
Okay,
Killua.
that intro kind of sucked, bro. But yeah,
Uh,
today we're gonna be ranking what we think are some of the strongest Nen abilities in all the series. This is gonna be a multi-part series, not just one part. For those wondering,
yep.
we will have multiple of these Nen ability videos. Some on the stronger side, some on the weaker side. We have just some overall characters we have decided to include in this. But as Unseen said, we're starting off with Killua. Now, Killua is kind of crazy. We
Oh yeah.
don't need to take into account all of his feats because we're not taking into account Killua here. We're only
Yes.
thinking about the ability itself, Godspeed. Now,
Yes.
Godspeed, for anyone who isn't Killua or a part of the Zoldyck family, would actually be near impossible. Maybe some chimeric ants could pull it off, but the fact that you are constantly being tased by your own ability
Yep.
is a
And
large
the
downside.
I mean, and the only reason he's able to do it is because of his assassin training to begin
He
with.
was functionally tortured his entire childhood. He
Yep.
gets to do that. But not everyone gets to do that. And
Nope, he
also
has he got the right to do it.
also the fact that you can't just use Godspeed on a whim. You have to charge up the electricity. So
Yep.
Killua obviously carries around a taser to do this, but like
Yeah.
there are a lot of prerequisites that you need to pass. The ability itself would be tier 0 since we're using a tier 0 to 3 bracket here. It would be tier 0 in terms of power and benefit, but the downsides bring it down a lot. Now,
Yep.
am I saying there's no other character that could use it? Hell no. I think someone like Gon with his sheer tenacity would be able to push through and use the ability. I think
Oh, I
someone
would agree.
like Crollo could probably make use of it. These are people who have gone through intense physical situations, and I feel like in the upper echelon of Hunter x Hunter characters, like Killua and Gonar, I think there's a lot of characters that could use Godspeed. So I don't think taking more than a singular ranking off of its true, like, furious power would be
Yeah.
fair. So, what do you think? You think tier 1 is a good place to place Killua?
Yeah, I'd say tier one's definitely a good place to put Killua.
That means next up is Gon. You want to give the little briefing on John Ken?
Oh man. So to sum it up in a simpler fashion, it's pretty much kind of like rock, paper, scissors in a way. With rock being more of a bludgeoning attack, scissor, if I'm correct, is more of a slashing, and then I'm not too sure on what paper would be, to
Rock
be
is
honest.
it is an enhancement technique used by Gon's basic augmenter capabilities. It allows him to enhance his physical damage several fold. Scissor is a transmuter ability that allows him to transmute his nen into a sharp force. So instead of increasing his punch, he's creating almost like a physical sword that's more capable than a normal sword, which is able to cut through nen abilities and through items nonetheless. Wallpaper is an emitter that is able to functionally let him shoot his nen at someone. And as we've seen, that could actually be fairly devastating if landed in the right moment, for example.
You don't want to be caught unaware when you're facing Gon, especially with that ability.
Now, John Ken, a lot of people think is not a great ability, but that couldn't be further from the truth. It is a fairly versatile ability. It has its bludgeoning properties that comes around a lot of, how do you say it? It would work around a lot of armor based abilities or people with a lot of
Yep.
durability. It is very devastating. Scissors would have actually come in real use if he was able to ever use it against Hisoka, because it can cut through Nen, so it would functionally be able to disable someone like Hisoka's bungee gum. So it is a very sharp Nen blade that can cut through Nen itself, which makes it an awesome pick for going up against anyone. And even though Paper is arguably the weakest ability within Jajan Ken, it is not lacking in the least, since someone
No.
who is exhausted could easily be knocked out, and the fact that Gon has an astounding amount of Nen for the majority of the series, but since we're not actually looking at Gon's Nen, but the ability itself, the sheer versatility would get it a tier 1. Now, it doesn't give any speed boosts or any physical boosts apart from what anyone else could achieve with basic Nen. So in its own, its versatility is what makes up for the lacking of strength.
Oh yes, most definitely. It's definitely a very utility based ability.
It's definitely in the middle of abilities. It's not a high tier, it's not a low tier abilities. It's a solid rank 2 ability.
And realistically, a good portion of people could learn the technique to begin with.
Any augmenter, transmitter, or emitter type could easily learn John Ken, since it is a very simplistic technique down to its basic functions and its overall build. So, would you be comfortable placing Gon in a solid second tier?
I would be most egregious with this choice.
Now, we got one of the most powerful characters in all Hunter x Hunter coming up next, Crollo Lucifer.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Crollo's ability is insanity. He has the ability to copy anyone's Nen technique down into a book and functionally use it whenever he wants. Now, the process of getting to copy people's abilities is quite complicated, since they'd have to explain their variability and how it feels actually using them. But considering you could just have your friends develop Nen abilities and ask them, you could actually fairly easily copy abilities. Now, we're not going off of the abilities that Crollo has copied, since there are some abilities that no one would ever think he'd have because they're incredibly powerful. But that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at the ability to copy Nen ability itself. And sure, there are a lot of downsides in terms of how you can gather it, but as long as you're a good person, or even a bad person like Crollo, having groups of people around you who are willing to help you flesh out your own Nen ability would easily give you an advantage with the sheer amount of diversity your ability would have. So, with this being said, personally, I'm comfortable giving Crollo the first tier 0 ability.
I would agree. It is a very strong ability which has a lot of utility to it as well.
Now, imagine he copied something like Netero's 100 type Bodhisattva. That would be crazy. That would be
That'd be
insanity.
scary.
Or fucking Meruem's aura manipulation.
Yeah. Or just imagine combining the Thousand Arms with, let's just
I
say,
think
Godspeed.
I think he can only have one ability active at a time.
Yes, but if he could have more, it'd be a very devastating uh, attack.
Indeed. Next up, a lot of people think this character is crazy powerful because of his unique circumstances, but in the long run, this character actually nerfed their ability severely. It is Kurapika. Now, as
Yeah,
everyone knows, Kurapika's main ability is called the Chain Jail. It is an ability which allows him, since being a manipulator, to manipulate chains. Now, obviously, chains made of physical material and controlled with Nen aren't as strong as a transmuter ability where you create chains, for example. But nevertheless,
yeah,
Kurapika has some insane feats with these chains, being able to easily take on members of the Phantom Troop, who, like Crollo, are top tier characters, but that only works because he made a Nen contract, which only allowed him to use his ability on the Phantom Troop. And on top of that, that was boosted by the Kurta clan's ability. So his base ability of just change ill is actually severely bad. And in fact, I think someone as simple as Gon without an Nen technique when he was first mastering things like Ren and Zetsu would easily be able to beat that version of Kurapika if he hadn't had the bonuses that he did. Now, that is a controversial statement, I know, but
Yep.
personally, I would place Kilo into the useless tier, or not Kilo, I said Kilo, Kurapika into the useless tier here, because his ability is just generally bad outside of certain situations.
Well, other than the Phantom Troop, is pretty much useless unless he can make a different net ability that doesn't have said contract.
Now, if that's possible, I don't know. There's still a lot of reading I have to do in the manga to catch up. I've seen some of the newer chapters. Obviously, we saw the Crollo fight with Hisoka match
Yep.
2. Amazing. I'm hoping to get there pretty soon, but for right now, I'm just gonna put this man Kurapika into the useless tier
I would
because
agree.
it's like, bro, he loses to Knuckle. Come on. Next up, another extremely powerful character, Netero, and his 100 type Bodhisattva.
Very, very devastating attack.
Now, the ability itself, when fully formed, which is how we're looking at it, is extremely powerful. Being able to functionally cause death blows with the Type 0 arm. And the fact that there are 100 different moves within this set makes it even crazier. It's a very diverse martial technique. The downsides to it obviously being the prayer. Uh, a lot of people know that this is actually a Nen contract. You don't have to do the prayer, but it's going to be a lot weaker if you don't. The prayer is the basis of Netero's power. Him being thankful for what he was given, that allowed him to form a very, very powerful Nen technique. So, as it is in its final form, it is arguably a tier 0 ability. It is incredibly
Yep.
powerful, it's incredibly diverse, and in terms of destructive power, it probably supersedes everything except aura manipulation on this list.
I would agree with that.
But the means to getting to it is what was it, like 70 or 40 years of straight training a singular
I
punch?
I think it was 40. But
Extremely long. So the means of getting it would not be easy. But like
no,
when you
you would
have an ability that powerful, it's kind of worth it.
kind of worth the grind
But
for that
since we're
technique.
not going into the means of getting these Nen abilities, but the power themselves, even with the downside of the prayer, it is still a tier 0 ability.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think my dog's going crazy. It just barked at its own hair.
Okay. Dogs
Also,
would be like
I'm
that.
leaving that in. That's the first time my dog has ever barked on a video. It's crazy.
Bro, the dog's agreeing, man. The dog's agreeing.
Bro. He's out here. He's a Netero fan, bro.
Absolutely.
Next up, another extremely powerful character, Meruem. Now,
The
Meruem's
Chimera,
ability is
it
kind of insane.
is very insane.
Because let's be honest, not only was this man putting hands on Netero, Netero's Type 0 didn't even kill this man. It required a literal nuke. And even then, he somehow survived, but died to radiation poisoning, of course. His
Yep.
abilities are insane. So in this specific case, we're not going to be looking at his Chimera abilities to functionally drain stuff from people. We're only looking at his actual Nen ability. Now, when it comes to his Nen, Meruem is an emitter type. Obviously, he was born with his Nen, unlike most humans. And
Yep.
his Nen ability is kind of crazy. So
Kind of wild, to be honest.
so his main Nen ability is called Aura Synthesis. Now, he does use other abilities like Metamorphosis, Rage Blast. Those are not a part of his own Nen abilities. Those he got from absorbing the other royal guards. With
Yep.
For example, Shaolapoof and Minthpi. But his own ability consists of two main abilities: Aura Synthesis and Photon. Aura Synthesis is basically something that gives him chi manipulation, like something from Naruto or Dragon Ball. It allows him to enhance his body physically several folds. It makes him incomprehensibly strong and incomprehensibly durable. While Photon is a combination of emission, transmission, and manipulation abilities. It allows him to do everything from sending messages to physically creating light itself that can burn through things.
Which
When it
is
comes
very
to it,
scary on you.
when it comes to it, from what we've seen, Meruem instantaneously mastered his abilities. This is due to him being a natural born nen genius. So how difficult it is to use these abilities, we cannot determine. So sadly, we can't draw off points for that. But in terms of power, bro, give him a few more years and he'd solo Goku.
Oh man.
The fact that in a few days he was powerful enough to solo the Hunter x Hunter verse functionally already tells you you gave him enough time, bro. You give him a few years, he would have functionally been Cell.
Yeah.
So I'm comfortable putting him in between Netero and Crollo, because Crollo just has more utility. He could copy any ability on this list if it's explained to him, so he's still gonna hold that number one spot in tier 0. But from what we've seen, we know Meruem's ability is physically stronger than the 100 type Bodhisattva. And I know a lot of people are gonna be mad that I don't say that full name, but come on, bro. 100 type Guan Yin Bodhisattva every single time? Just 100 type Bodhisattva is fine, okay? Don't shit on me too much.
The name's just a little too long, man. It's reasonable.
Now, Brady.
Yeah.
I want to see if you remember this character.
Oh boy.
So this character made their debut in Heaven's Arena. Near the finals, actually. I believe they fought against Gon. His name is Guido.
Yep.
He's the dude that had the tops.
Yep. The insane top. Oh, I remember.
So crazy. I don't think we have to explain this, but functionally Guido can increase the velocity of the tops that he throws by infusing them with Nen, functionally turning them into heat-seeking missiles, if you will. They were strong, but only for the start, since directly after Heaven's Arena, when Gon and Killua had properly learnt Nen, they could probably have kicked Guido's ass with their eyes closed. And the ability is a one-trick pony. Come on, Brady, you know.
Man functionally had a Beyblade, let's be honest here.
Bruh, he hit it with that Beyblade, let it rip, and then got his ass kicked. And my man said, "This is Fortnite, silly. We use guns."
We use pew pew.
This ability is arguably worse than Kurapika's chains. It's going straight to the bottomly useless.
Oh, I would agree.
Now, next up is one of the most confusing Nen abilities of all time. Hisoka's Bungee Gum.
Bungee Gum.
My ability, Bungee Gum, possesses the properties of both rubber and gum.
I love the backstory behind that, of why he named it and how he made that technique.
It is kind of crazy. But the ability itself is kind of confusing. A lot of people think that its only properties is to stretch and stick. I have something that stretches and sticks, and it's also produced by my body. But it's nowhere near as useful as Hisoka's Bungee Gum. Now, Hisoka is a genius, to say the very least. He was able to use this stupid ability and the functions of postmortem Nen to program himself to restart his heart if he ever died. Which is insanity.
Let's not mention he used it to help reattach his arm temporarily. Before he can get it properly fixed.
On top of that, he could disguise himself. He functionally has a transformation ability.
Yep.
Now, am I saying this is a god tier ability? Fuck no. But am I saying it's pretty good? Hell yeah, I'd put this above. In all honesty, I'd put this above John Ken. In physical capability, Hisoka's able to use his ability to not only reinforce his body's durability, but also his strength, and he could easily attach his opponent to himself to functionally guarantee a hit on all of his attacks. Or he could lock them down to a singular point where even if they try to move away, they just ricochet back.
Yeah.
In combat, it is very, very utile and useful. And outside of combat, the fact that he could bring himself back to life with his stupid ability tells
Yes.
you all you need to know.
Oh yeah. It's definitely a real stupid technique though. It's just like, yeah, if I go into cardiac arrest, we're solid.
So, next up is one of the dumbest Nen abilities of all time, Leol's Rental Pod. If For those who don't remember him, Leol was the lion chimera ant. After his entire interaction with Shalopoof, he draws from the specialization category to create his rental pod. Functionally, it's a small music playing device that stores borrowed quote unquote Nen abilities from his opponents as well as his allies. He can access any of these abilities by simply scrolling through them and selecting which one he wants. And I know what people are thinking. Oh, this is just like Krolos. It is top tier. There
And
are
got the
insane
play of
drawbacks to this
ability.
stupid ability. He has to first observe you using it, then he has to learn how the technique works and what it's called, and he also needs to perform a favor for you. So it would be a lot harder for him to constantly get abilities. And on top of that, he can only use each ability once. And technically speaking, he can only make you do he can only do one favor for you to achieve this. He can't force you to give him another favor. So if you just be like, the favor I want you to do is to off yourself, he's just not getting your ability. And
Oh
even
yeah.
though he used this ability several times, unless he was using one of the royal guards or fucking Meruem's ability himself, he wasn't gonna have a very useful net ability. So let's be honest. This ability is right about as trash as anything else. I am comfortable putting this ability in tier 3.
Bro, we need to make a new tier, tier 4. It's so useless.
It's still useful. Like, he still had great allies, but none of them had good Nen abilities. They were very much carried by the fact that they were Chimera ants.
Yep.
And now we leave it with the strongest character in all of Hunter x Hunter. No argument about it. It is Knuckles. Knuckles and his legendary ability of IRS.
You don't mess with IRS, man.
Bruh, not even Joker messes with the IRS, man. There's no argument about this. It's going to the top of tier 0. Screw it. He gets his own tier. Tier minus 100.
Tier negative 10,000.
He is extremely powerful. He could disable Nen techniques. If he had a little more Nen himself, I think he would have killed Meruem. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
I would have to agree with that.
So, to all the haters out there being mad that we put Knuckle at tier 0, I bet you don't like Shino, so how about you suck it up, Buttercup?
Yeah. All them Shino haters out there.
Bruh, Shino and Knuckle haters, bro.
I know.
They just don't know how to appreciate, bro. It's like you don't mess with the IRS, bro.
You don't mess with the guy who can give you bed bugs.
You don't mess with the guy that could give you bed bugs. So yeah, that's probably gonna be it for this video. You got any
Yep,
last words, my boy?
I do. For all my lovely unseen shinobi, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. And have a nice night or
Without
day.
and without further ado, peace, nerds.
Peace.